Hello, everybody. I have Nick here with me to conclude this series. We're going to continue the coverage of the Utden Troll Cup, the Cornerstone that happened at the end of October in Leeuwarden, Netherlands. And we are going to be looking at the finals today. It is a matchup that you should recognize between two players that have actually already faced each other in round four. We are going to look at a Steam Druid in Wout and an Archimago in ISO. The game actually did not take place during the weekend because I think the event was running a little bit behind and one of the two players had to leave, so they decided to call it there. We didn't want to leave you hanging, so we actually recreated a match. We managed to grab a hold of Wout, so he's actually going to be playing his Team Druid list. And then I will be the stand-in for Izo in playing Archimago, a deck that I've played a little bit of. So let's jump into the deck list. We'll go pretty quickly because we've seen them before. I can maybe cover quickly the Archimago list. This is a pretty standard Archimago control list. The main thing to note is this one sticks to two colors, so we are not splashing fire for Poison Nova and other good cards. That brings a little bit more consistency, but that means, we have to find some replacements. So we're playing guards, 2 copies of, we're playing Merlin, now that we can afford the 3 air threshold a little bit more. Things like ties and a full playset of Lightning Bolt.
Yeah,
And then if we jump...
and then we
go
jump
for it.
to Wout's Steam Druids. Yeah, by now you know it by heart. I guess it is just hit hard. Uniques are very powerful in combination with 2 of them. They are very cruel. So we know it now. It's Boudica. It is the Rule of Tool. It is Plague of Rocks, all the combination. Sir Agravain, also a very, very strong, of course. The manuscript to draw some cards, but you just want to hit hard with Raiders, Lions, Logbook, etc. It goes really, really fast, and then with all the uniques, you really can drop somebody from 20 to 0 if it really comes right. Without further ado, let's just jump into the game. It looks a bit different because, as Geoffrey said, this one is recorded on TTS. On top, we have Wout at 20 live with his Druid, and we have Geoffrey as a stand-in for ISO or his deck at the bottom. So how did you feel, Geoffrey, when you started this? Were you confident in winning, or was there a doubt?
So this is a deck or a matchup that I've played a lot of. One of my main training partners in Europe is usually Felix, and Felix is a great Steam Druid player. But I'm used to an Archimago list that splashes fire, and so getting used to this air and earth only version was probably the thing I was a bit worried about. Is am I going to be able to find the removal that I want? Am I more vulnerable because a lot of my removal is bury effects, and I'm playing against a deck that will play water sites. So I was mostly conscious of these little differences before going into this game.
Mm-hmm. And also, when Wout joined, he actually did the calculation and he said, basically, I have only 28% chance of winning. He gave 72% to the Archimago just due to Divine Healing, basically, because it's such an important card. And actually, we see it right away in your hand. What were you looking for in your opening hand here against the Steam Druid?
Yeah, so I actually decided not to mulligan anything because this is exactly the types of hands I want to see in this matchup. It's a lot of early cards and a lot of healing. So I have a Holy Ground, I have a Divine Healing, I have a turn to play in Leprechaun, and I have a way to get the engine going with a Power of Light. So I was pretty happy with this hand. I decided to go on the play because I know how aggressive the Steam Druid can be, and I didn't want to be quote-unquote 1 turn behind. And very happy to see a site that I can immediately play in the middle here in Pebble Path. This is one of the key defensive sides that you're looking for in this matchup, and generally against most fire decks.
Yeah, it's amazing because both sides actually have very key cards in their hand, because we will now, I presume, see what casting Jihad. Jihad, this is one of such powerhouse. It gives such a huge advantage. All your kobolds, all your vile imps, they get 1+ and they can actually hit you directly. So, but also we see Rule of Tool. which is, I mean, yeah, so many times this card is so important to turn a game on its head and deal a massive amount of damage. So very interesting to see which way it will go. So what went through you when you actually cast that Jihad?
So Jihad is scary. I think it's slightly less scary once you already have a pebble path out there that fully covers the Jihad sites. So actually not too bad at this stage, but I don't know yet what's coming. If you look at the Steam's head here, this is your typical Steam Druid experience. This is literally a River of Flame, a Tadpole Pool, a Ruler, a Jihad, and a Sur Agravain. That's 5 uniques out of, what, 7, 8 cards drawn? And this allows you to like create a lot of pressure on your opponents very early because obviously these cards are individually very powerful. Well, speaking of powerful unique cards, I drew into one of my own, and that's a Philosopher's Stone being played in the hands of my avatar, which will allow for a Power of Flight to be cast for just the 1 mana. So
Well, if you think your Philosopher's Stone is a good card, you just drew the Ring of Morgan. And is there a better card that you want to see against the Steam Druid? Or is it dangerous? Like, I know that swap is a thing now.
yeah,
Does it affect you?
it can. I think you only deploy it when you need it. So, you know, you're not going to play it blindly if you're not going to get some immediate value out of it. I mean, it's still great to see, especially in a matchup where you need to care about Tawny so much, because it's one easy way to keep Tawny at bay. And the uniques keep coming. Philosopher's Stone and Ring on the Archie side, and then a Boudica has been drawn for turn on the Steam Druid side. So this is sorcery on steroids right here.
Yeah, but I also got the feeling like, yes, he has Boudica, he has the Rule of Tool, the Sir Agravain, but where are the supporting minions that actually benefit from it? Because casting one of these big ones one at a time doesn't really has the effect that you're looking for. So I guess
Yeah.
Sir Agravain will now land. Or will it go to the Jihads? Or yeah, I think every time you have to ask yourself, do you want to play something on a water side? Or
Yeah.
just do you want to go for it? I don't know how to evaluate that correctly, but Wout here clearly now decides to put it on water and not somewhere for the Jihad. That's an interesting choice, actually.
Yeah, I think he's worried about a tower and earthquake because with the Peastone, earthquake would cost only 4, so that's a possibility. I think some of Steam Druid's minion, yes, they might be deployed one by one and they might look slow on paper, but if some of them have ways to evade removal, like Sir Agravain with his stealth, you can actually accumulate a little army without your opponent being able to do much up until the point where you're ready to strike. And this is a good example, right? Like I have a blocker ready, but he's not giving me anything to block yet. He's just in setup mode. And the best I can do is play a ring because Tawny I wouldn't be too afraid of, but Tawny in combination with Agravain is a scary sight. Agravain can get close and then Tawny can decide to attack, and then there's a lot of damage that goes through. So I'm actually okay here at deploying the ring and just having a ring trigger to ping Tawny. But you can see that like on the RG side, you're running pretty low on cards on hand. You have 2 leprechauns. Until they die, they don't give you their card back. So it's not looking like it's going to be too good. The next few cards drawn by the Archimago need to be really good in order to catch up the card disadvantage.
And so Infiltrate is played because honestly, how many minions does Archimago actually have? I mean, you are actually happy that to be able to steal a minion, and it does weaken your defense also.
Yeah, well, especially any body is a great body when you have Sir Agravain on board. Because that leprechaun could be another attack that triggers the Sir Agravain's ability. And yeah, so I think Tawny has been missed here. It should have come back on the bog, but it won't matter much because I'm actually taking back the site here played. I forgot that I had a Philosopher's Stone that actually enables to cast the Grandmaster Wizard just with the tower. And so on cast, I would have pinged Tawny. So Tawny being missed on the bog is not a huge deal because it would have died immediately anyway.
Okay, I just stopped the recording briefly for a moment because this is actually a very important turn, if I'm correct. And we pause it because we really want to explain this, because actually this has to do with a rule change that actually happened over the summer and that Walt was not aware. So just to explain it a little bit, and I will actually get our Sir Agravain back. Like, if ever you hear like, why is Sir Agravain such a crazy card? Well, before the rule change, it would have been that if a minion would attack, for instance, the Archimago, and if a Kettletop Leprechaun would block, Sir Agravain, when it would trigger, would actually strike the Leprechaun or try to strike it. Now, over the summer, this ruling has changed, which means that if you would attack the Archimago, whether that first minion would block or not, Sir Agravain would actually deal damage directly to the Archimago. And so, Jeffrey, can you enlighten us what is possible here at this moment? Because honestly, Walt was 100% sure that this was not true. So he knew the old rule. He knew it 100% because he asked it on the website.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he did not realize that there was a new ruling right now.
Yeah, and this is what makes like Agravain was already a great card before, but it's even more powerful now. It might not look like it, but just before he even draws his card for turn, I believe about Wout Steam Druid here as actually a 20-0, so it is able to put me on this door.
Yeah. So for the viewers, if you want to pause the video and try to find it, this is like a puzzle. But Jeffrey, go ahead.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, right? Because like we're barely starting turn 5, and he has 2 units on board, one of them being my Leprechaun. But the combination of Ruler plus the Jihad means that Agravain, if he attacks my avatar, is actually going to be a 5-power minion, right? Because let's say you play Ruler on your home side if you're the Druid. That's your 4 mana used for the turn. Ruler will buff units that are on the most top and bottom row. So Agravain can declare an attack on my avatar. Because he has stealth, there's nothing I can do about it. I'll take 5 damage.
And
Then
and he has
the
+1 movement, so he reaches that
correct.
far.
Yeah. Similarly, the leprechaun that has just been stolen with an infiltrate also currently has a stealth token on it. You can't see it because it's being hidden by the Grandmaster, but that means it's another attack where I can't do anything about it if he decides to attack my avatar directly. If he does that with a leprechaun, the leprechaun will hit it with his own damage for 3, being buffed by the ruler, and Agravain will see the attack and trigger again and hit me for another 5. Because again, it's going to follow the attack of the leprechaun. So if we just stop here, that's already 13 damage that I cannot do anything about. Now, with a ruler being played on the home side, the both the druid and the ruler are 2 other potential attacks. And while I can block these attacks with my minions, I have 2 blockers. I have a leprechaun and a grandmaster wizard. Agravain will not care that the attacks are being blocked, and it will remember the original target of the attack when applying his trigger. So what Wout can do here is attack with his druid onto my avatar. I'll decide to block with, let's say, a grandmaster. Agravain will still strike me for 5 because I'm the original target of the attack. So now that's 18 damage. And then finally, the ruler can be the last one to cross the line between top and bottom row. Again, declare an attack on my avatar. I'll block with my leprechaun, but Agravain won't care, and he will deal an extra 5 damage. And just like that, you have 23 damage on turn 5, and that's the power of Steam Druid. You accumulate units, you combine them together, and you get these crazy explosive turns like no other decks can do.
Thanks for the explanation. And unfortunately, Walt, he was sure that that was not possible. Otherwise, he would have 100% played this line. But of course, we just want to take a moment because we don't have to explain it further that this would have been a huge impact on the game, putting the Archimago at 0 life and death's door on turn 5. Unfortunately, that is not what happened. And I will now continue with our recording. So
Yeah, and
what a swing.
yeah, it was just crazy, right? Like when people ask me like how do you like the matchup against Team Druid as Archimago, I tell them honestly, like that's maybe one of the few matchups where I don't like my odds. It's way too close to 50-50 and honestly it might even be in their favor sometimes. And so Wout had done the math, but using the old rule where, the aggravating trigger would follow the blocker, he had realized that he couldn't put me on zero. And generally, if you can't put the Archimago on zero, then it's also fine to just clear the board instead of going for damage that can potentially be healed. So he's deciding to trade the leprechauns into each other. He gets the side draw out of it, which is a nice little added bonus. And then the Agravane comes to take the Grandmaster Wizard instead of swinging at me.
Yeah, and the sides, it's an important one. The smokestacks, they deal with the pebble pods, and yeah, with all your charge minion, that is actually quite important.
Yeah, and now we see the ruler coming down, and I'm thinking internally, I didn't do the math for him, but I feel like this would have potentially been the game here. And so yeah, ruler is going to hit for, I believe, 3, plus the Agravane 5, bringing me to, I think it should be 12. I wonder if we missed the damage here.
Yeah, I think so. Should have been 12.
Yeah. It doesn't matter too much from there because I do think I have healing to go back up in a way that means the 1 damage is irrelevant. The tawny has also been missed, but I think we catch it a little bit later and we'll be perfectly on cue. We will bring it back to the Valley of Delight, so no harm done here.
Yeah, you
And now,
survived not a bullet, really like an axe chopping off your head. But now the game continues, and yeah, it's now Archimago going looking for control with the ring. That is, of course, nice to have in hand.
yeah, like seeing Agravin and Ruler, which are two of the scariest cards in this matchup. Having seen them come down, knowing that I have a ring, a Philosopher's Stone, I have healing in hand, and I have ways to start picking off some of those units. I feel pretty good at this point. It's not like over, but I feel like I've weathered the initial storm, which is always something that you're a bit worried about as Archimago. The first 5 turns can be quite critical. So we're going to see a magic missile being cast on the ruler. Ruler does not buff himself, so the magic missile damage is enough to kill the ruler. There will be a ring trigger on Agravane, and we will continue stacking the ring trigger until Agravane gets to die. So that will be 3 needed in total. We have had 1 from the magic missile, 1 from the blink. So I do believe another card needs to be cast to finish it. Yeah, and so we're going to flashback a blink from our graveyard, mostly to be able to finish the Agravane with a ring trigger, but obviously we'll draw a card in the process.
Yeah, and also like if you're Wout and you didn't see that line, of course, like I think he only has the 1 Shadow Strike in the deck and 2 swaps to deal with the ring. So yeah, if you don't have the luxury to just wait for it, I think. I mean, Archimago is not that slow. You are already well in or now in the mid game. So yeah, I guess when you have the Boudica and the kobolds in hand, you just have to find something, do something. You cannot stay passive. That is not the winning play against Archimago. Also, I would say.
Yeah, and the crazy thing here is, like from my perspective, I feel good looking at my hand. But actually, if you're Wout, you're like, okay, I tried something with Ruler and Agravane. He was able to manage it. You still have a really good hand, right? Like this is another one of these hands that can do crazy damage out of nowhere just because Boudica is here. You can assume you're always going to have a Tawny lying around if you play far enough away from the ring. And now that you have a smokestack that turns off the pebble path, you have some minions that are probably going to be able to charge in, right? So, as crazy as it sounds, like there's a second storm coming, and that Boudica is also pretty close to bringing maybe not a 20 to 0, but like a 15, 16 to 0 could be doable and enough.
And we also see that Wout didn't want to attack with Tawny because there is a ring. It's just 1 ping. And he was like, hey, I have Boudica, which is 4 damage, so I might as well just wait another turn. And he was actually also considering moving it back to 9, where it's a little bit safer, but then decide against it.
Yeah. And I think that's the right play, right? Like Tawny dies very easily, so keeping it around, since you don't have a site ready to play and bring her back immediately, keeping it around for a little bit longer makes sense to me.
Well, and yeah, is this Archimago Paradise playing Magic Missiles, Divine Healing? I don't know about the guards. Like, that would have been an option actually, just to step forward and cause guards, but I guess that is too dangerous.
Yeah, it's not the best play against a druid, but when you have two in hand, you kind of have to work with them. So I think it will happen eventually. I'm just not thinking this is how I'm going to finish the game, really.
So that Magic Missile with the ping and ping of the blink was 2 damage already to the Raiders, which had 4 um, power. So 2 damage from the Magic Missiles went to the Raiders to kill it off, and then 1 lone Magic Missile flew all the way to Tawny to kill it. And then Geoffrey still had the mana over to cast another blink, and now positioning himself ready for the guards, I would presume, where it is best placed. Because, yeah, once that the Druid flips, it deals damage to everything that comes into play. So if there is a Druid and you would cast guards, all the tokens would just die immediately if they would be next to the flip Druid. So yeah, the sooner the better if the tokens still want to have an impact on this game.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I blink kind of like into place. Sorry, not in the middle of the board. Like usually you don't want to do that against Team Druid because of the kobolds and the violence, but with a jihad on most of my sites anyway, these are going to be able to deal their damage. So being in the middle allows for a maximum guards of 9 tokens.
And so now you're at 14. Are you still like, hey, as the 1 card in hand, it is always still possible to drop, or do you now have like, yeah, I think I now have time enough to get the guards in, heal bits?
Yeah, it's I think I feel more confident. It's hard to say because there are like a couple of unique cards in the Steam Druid deck that can still like close the game from there, as crazy as it sounds. But I do feel confident. I think I just need to not rush and keep clearing the board as much as I can, in order to like really not let that window of opportunity for him to be too big. I will cast the guards here because even though they might not do a lot of offensive duty, they at least provide good blockers for the kobolds, the Violent, etc. And it also somewhat pushes him to flip. And with 2 Earthquake in hand, I'd be quite happy to cast an Earthquake on Flip Druid, bring him back to his home site and get the Bruin out. It's not the craziest play, but having drawn 2 guards and 2 Earthquake, which are not great cards in this matchup because he has plenty of water sites and he's a druid, so my tokens are limited. I kind of have to make use of them as much as I can, right? Like I can't sit on them and say, well, they're not at their best here. I'm gonna hold on to them forever.
Yeah, and so you did decide to recast Magic Missile just to get rid of the kobolds, although that empty your graveyard. And I was like, yeah, you have 2 earthquakes that are not doing anything. But so even then you said like, hey, I'll not risk it. I'll just use the Magic Missiles to get it off board. You never know what scary thing might happen.
Yeah, I think this is exactly it. This is me respecting how much damage can be output by a Steam Druid. So, gotta clear the kobolds. They're really scary, especially on the Jihad.
But so here the Vile Imp attacked, and then you decided not to block.
Yeah, I think I can afford to run a bit lower on life just because I have a divine healing ready. So if I really need to, I go back to 20 pretty easily. And I want to make use of the tokens while I can. And the token that would have defended is actually also one that can attack. So I'm slowly starting to think, yeah, it might be time for me to turn the corner and be the aggressor for a little while.
And so we
And
saw
it's
the Warhorse bringing the Druid one step closer and then flipping just to have that annoying ability of dealing one damage to everything. But yeah, it's a little bit too late. I mean, all the tokens on your side will not deal their damage. Um, but yeah, they are already in play and dealing damage.
yeah, the ones that are already on his sides can attack because they were there before. And I'm gonna squeeze in 2 attacks before I bury my own guys and cast an earthquake at the top here.
Hmm.
Um, That's an interesting one here. Do you push the smokestack so that your pebble path is live again? Or do you prefer to just push the druid away and, give a bit more room for you guys?
Yeah, personally, I think pushing the Druid back and giving more space because it gains you like 3 extra damage and tokens, which I think is right given because also you drew the Creator Eye, so now you're not that far behind. It's funny because I thought you were going to Earthquake on the water side so that token would not get buried. But I think you see here swapping the sides and actually also moving the avatar back.
Yeah, it's a good point actually. I think when I cast it, I was so set on putting the smokestack away that I didn't realize that if I don't, then it's better to do it on the water side because I get one more dude alive. Um, yeah, but you see me going on the offensive now with the token, so I appreciate there's still a Violent on board, but with a Craterize in hand and easily 3-4 damage with just the dudes, I've decided, okay, now I'm gonna be the aggressor, and I think he recognizes that, and his Violin starts clearing the tokens instead of doing damage. So you can feel the roles have been swapped.
Yeah, and while imps that have to do cleanup duties when there are still 5 other tokens on the board, with guards in hand that could come back. Of course, the druid is flipped, so it has less impact, but yeah, as you say, the cat comes in play, and that lone Boudica that we can see in the hand is still there for so many turns, not finding its impact. Um,
Yeah, and it's crazy to think, right? But if that Boudica is a courtesan ties,
mhm.
he can actually still win the game because he plays my turn, he craterizes my own face when he's still a bit further away.
Wow.
Then he can banish my graveyard at will 3/3. So like you're never out of the woods when you play against this team druid because they have these high impact single unit cards that can just turn the game around. And believe it or not, like the Corzon Ties is
Mhm.
the thing that I've had in my mind for the last 2 turns. I was like, this is the only way I lose at this point.
Yeah, and so if we look at the game, so you were attacking with each token individually, always asking, do you block? He didn't. But then he placed himself at 10 life, and with the ping from the ring, that is actually 11 damage.
Yeah,
So I didn't understand why he didn't block because he could have blocked one with the cat. With Craterize, the cat would have died everywhere. So yeah, I think otherwise, yeah, you still have something to cost. You would have had the
yeah.
ability to
So
cost the divine
it
healing.
it didn't matter because I had an extra ring ping in the divine healing.
Yeah.
I think from his perspective, he needs to keep his minion alive. Like his only out is a crazy Boudica turn in some ways. And so he has to do what he can to keep his minion alive. And
And actually,
yeah,
a painful draw for Walt, drawing that Shadow Strike when you are struggling a whole game against the ring. But yeah, it came too late, I think.
if he had this way earlier before the ring did all of the work it did, that would have been a different game. I mean, for all intents and purposes, with the Sir Agravain turn, I think he would have won anyway. So it's a technicality at this point. But yeah, great game. It was much closer than it might look if you just look at the board. Once you consider both players' hands, and it was really a nice hedge the whole time.
Mhm. All right, so and this was our game. This was our final. So congratulations to Izo. Congratulations to you, Jeffrey. But you were the stand-in. So Izo's deck actually won here. Of course, in reality, the game was, or the Cornerstone was played, and unfortunately, it was a bit a pity that the final didn't happen. If you haven't watched round number 4, there we can see both players in action. Also, a very interesting match to see how that one progressed. Yeah, Geoffrey.
Yeah, thank you to everyone for bearing with us throughout this series. Hopefully you'd enjoyed it. Massive thanks to the Trolls of the Realm, first to organize this Cornerstone. They're always doing great events, so if you have a chance in the future, I would definitely encourage you to join one of these. They also have a website online, trollsoftherealm.com, which is one of the best ways you can secure some singles if you're looking for some in Europe specifically. We don't have as many options as some of our counterparts in the US, so good to know that there's a reliable source. And yeah, hopefully we'll do more of these in the future.
Yeah. Also, thank you, Geoffrey, for co-casting this whole series. I really had a lot of fun again. We are the sources at the core. We have a Discord if you're new to the game, if you want to play, if you're interested in limited, playing sealed online, or if you want to draft online. We have some of the best players on there that will always be helpful to get you on your sorcery journey. If you have any rules questions, if you just want to hang out and talk about this game that we all love and share, you're very welcome. The link will be in the description. If you have ever any questions, leave a comment. We do read these and we'll get back to you. Or just if you would join the Discord, we are easy to find and you can always send us a message or a shout out. We really appreciate it. But what we actually prefer is to meet you in real life in one of the live events. And if we are there, if we can be, we will be there. Geoffrey, up to the next one. The next series will be probably the Siege at the Core, which is the tournament happening next week at the launch of Gothic. We will have the recordings and they will be getting there up to you as fast as possible. Thank you for watching and see you in the next series.